Hello and welcome to Quiz Time. I'm Jess and today our quiz is on myths and historical facts. So a really interesting one today. Are you ready for this? 100 questions coming up. Ancient Greek athletes reportedly ate a special substance to enhance Olympic performance. What was their secret energy food? Ground rocks, animal testicles, or burnt fish bones? Animal testicles. What's the lesser-known theory on how the Greeks infiltrated Troy besides the Trojan horse story? They dug a secret tunnel, they bribed the gatekeeper, or a traitor inside opened the gates? A traitor inside opened the gates. Did you know some of Europe's regions had low Black Death mortality rates? Which region was least affected? Poland, Italy, or Spain? Poland. Napoleon's height was average for his time, often mistakenly thought to be unusually short. His modern height would be 5'7", 5'2", or 5'4". 5'7". Which surprising methods were used to identify witches during the Salem witch trials? Observing their reaction to holy water, weighing them against the Bible, or forcing them to recite the Lord's Prayer perfectly? Forcing them to recite the Lord's Prayer perfectly. In addition to Excalibur, what other magical sword was part of King Arthur's legend? Caladbolg, Durandal, or Clarent? Clarent. Contrary to popular belief, Viking helmets did not have horns. What feature did they have? Feathers, no ornamentation at all, or animal fur lining? They had no ornamentation at all. Before George Washington, another man led under the Articles of Confederation. Who was this forgotten leader? John Hancock, John Jay, or John Hanson? John Hanson. Besides the Colosseum, what other Roman amphitheatre rivaled it in size and grandeur? The Flavian Amphitheatre, the Circus Maximus, or the Theatre of Marcellus? The Circus Maximus. In early versions of Robin Hood, what was his primary motivation instead of helping the poor? To avenge his family, to regain his lands, or to topple the monarchy? To regain his lands. Which ancient thinker first suggested the earth was round long before Columbus? Ptolemy, Aristotle, or Eratosthenes? Eratosthenes. Who originally attributed the famous but false quote, "Let them eat cake," to Marie Antoinette, despite no historical evidence? Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Maximilien Robespierre, or Voltaire? Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Despite their fierce reputation, some pirate crews during the 18th century embraced unexpected principles. What was one of these surprising practices? Equal division of loot, regular donations to charity, or pirates having democratic elections for captains? Pirates having democratic elections for captains. Initially, the Eiffel Tower was almost moved to which country after the 1889 World's Fair? Spain, Japan, or Canada? It was Japan. What is a lesser-known idea by Leonardo da Vinci among his famous paintings and inventions? A robotic knight, a steam-powered flying machine, or a machine to turn water into gold? A robotic knight. Apart from his theory of relativity, Einstein wrote another scientific paper. What was its focus? The exploration of Brownian motion, the nature of black holes, or the effects of wormholes on time travel? The explanation of Brownian motion. What was the Berlin Wall originally intended for before becoming a symbol of Cold War division? To prevent espionage, to control immigration, or to protect East Germany from military invasion? To control emigration. Shakespeare's plays are renowned globally. One lost play remains a mystery. What was its name? Love's Labour 1, The Noble Stranger, or The Winter's Night? Love's Labour's 1. The Boston Tea Party is famous, but what was the main hidden reason behind the colonists' anger? The high price of tea, the ban on coffee imports, or they opposed the East Indian Company's monopoly? They opposed the East India Company's monopoly. Did Vikings primarily use fire to force to conquer territories, and what was their most common method for gaining land? Buying land with stolen treasure, threatening supernatural curses, or forming alliances through marriages? Forming alliances through marriages. During Paul Revere's midnight ride, who else warned of the British advance that night? Israel Bissell, Samuel Prescott, or William Dawes? William Dawes. The Pyramids of Giza, part of the Seven Wonders, had outer surfaces covered in what material originally? White limestone, granite, or marble? White limestone. While many think the witch trials were exclusive to Salem, what was one of the first American trial locations? Hartford, Connecticut, Jamestown, Virginia, or Plymouth, Massachusetts? Hartford, Connecticut. The sinking of the Titanic is well documented, but what was the unexpected consequences for the world after the tragedy? The invention of radar, a ban on lifeboats for women, or the establishment of the International Ice Patrol? The establishment of the International Ice Patrol. Though initially unpopular, what political view did Winston Churchill hold in the early 20th century? Opposition to women's suffrage, support for Irish independence, advocacy for reducing military spending. Advocacy for reducing military spending. How many times was Julius Caesar stabbed during his famous assassination? 12, 23, or 50 times? 23 times. During the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette was executed by guillotine, but what lesser-known fact about her death shocked many? Her hair turned white in a single night, she was given a full Catholic burial, or she tried to escape the day before her execution. Her hair turned white in a single night. In the early United States, they considered adoption a surprising national language instead of English. Which one? Spanish, Hebrew, or German? German. How life would be different. The term Viking commonly refers to Scandinavian warriors, but what did it originally mean in Old Norse? Sea raider, nomadic wanderer, or guard of the north? Sea Raider. The Spanish Armada's defeat thanks to what unusual weather event during 1588's invasion of England? A sudden hurricane, a freezing winter storm, or a persistent thick fog? A sudden hurricane. Genghis Khan had unusual policies compared to his contemporaries. What was one surprising example? Religious tolerance, equal rights for women, or prohibition of slavery? Religious tolerance. What unusual diet did the famous scientist Isaac Newton reportedly adhere to during his lifetime? Vegetarianism, carnivorous, or fasting? Vegetarian. What unexpected role did ancient Egyptians use cats for beyond companionship and pest control? Guarding treasure, sending messages, or sacred symbols in rituals? Sacred symbols in rituals. Contrary to common belief, which of these was not a punishment for failing to meet the ancient Roman tax quota? Imprisonment, public humiliation, or expulsion from Rome? Expulsion from Rome. What little-known fact about the famous painting The Last Supper might surprise art enthusiasts? It includes hidden symbols of betrayal. It was painted on a wall, not a canvas. It was meant to be a mural in a bathroom. It was painted on a wall, not a canvas. Many think of pirates as ruthless criminals, but what surprising role did they play in early American economy? They financed political campaigns, they were early tax collectors, or they helped establish trade routes. They helped establish trade routes. What surprising detail about the use of cats in ancient Egypt highlights their unique status in society? They were considered royalty, they were trained for battle, or they were often mummified and buried with their owners. They were often mummified and buried with their owners. What intriguing detail about the Great Wall of China reveals its true purpose beyond defence? It was built to control trade routes, it served as a communication line, it was used for agricultural boundaries. It served as a communication line. Despite seeming monolithic, what surprising aspect of the medieval church enhances its influence? It was composed of various rival factions, it had significant control over education, or it operated independently from the kings. It was composed of various rival factions. What fascinating aspect of the ancient Silk Road challenges the notion that it was solely a trade route? It served as a cultural exchange network, it was governed by strict laws, or it was primarily used for military movement. It served as a cultural exchange network. Many believe that Cleopatra was Egyptian, but what surprising truth about her heritage adds complexity to her story? She was born in Rome. She was of Greek descent. She was a descendant of a Persian king. She was of Greek descent. What unexpected role did women play in the Viking Age that defies traditional gender roles of the time? They fought alongside men in battles. They managed trade businesses. They were leaders of exploration voyages. They fought alongside men in battles. While many view the Renaissance as a purely artistic movement, what surprising fact reveals its impact on technology? It created the first industrial machines. It did not influence entire scientific thought. It led to the development of mechanical clocks. It led to the development of mechanical clocks. What intriguing detail about the construction of the Eiffel Tower reflects its initial reception by the public? It was widely criticised and deemed ugly. It was built as a temporary structure. It was originally painted with bright colours. It was widely criticised and deemed ugly. What intriguing truth about the Salem witch trials sheds light on the motivations behind the accusations? It had no connection to social tensions. It was driven by economic rivalries. It was purely based on supernatural beliefs. It was driven by economic rivalries. What role did the invention of the printing press play in the spread of ideas during the Reformation? It was mainly used for religious texts only. It led to a decline in literacy rates. It enabled the mass production of pamphlets. It enabled the mass production of pamphlets. In what unique way did the ancient Egyptians utilize cats in their society beyond companionship? They served as guards in royal tombs. They were trained to hunt birds, or they were seen as symbols of protection from the pests. They were seen as symbols of protection from pests. How did the Code of Humambri set a precedent for modern legal systems? It introduced innocent until proven guilty, one of the earliest written legal codes, or punished equally no matter the crime. One of the earliest written legal codes. How did the activities of early explorers shape the global trade networks we know today? They created the first maps used for navigation. They established trade routes between continents, or they focused solely on exploration without trade. They established trade routes between continents. What was the significant impact of the Berlin Wall on East and West Berlin residents' daily lives? It restricted movement and communication. It made travel easier for everyone. It enhanced cultural exchange between the two sides. It restricted movement and communication. Halfway there, how are you doing? How did the establishment of the Silk Road facilitate not just trade but also cultural exchanges? It was primarily a military route. It only allowed for exchange of goods. It connected diverse cultures and shared knowledge. It connected diverse cultures and shared knowledge. What unconventional practices among the ancient Romans helped to ensure the health of their citizens? Public bathhouses, mandatory gym attendance, or regular fasting? Public bathhouses. Which lesser-known feature of the medieval castle design aimed to enhance its defensive capabilities? Moat filled with fish, arrow slits in walls, decorative gardens. Arrow slits in walls. What unusual role did the famous philosopher Socrates play in ancient Athenian society that is often overlooked? A military strategist, a royal advisor, or a public teacher of ethics? A public teacher of ethics. What unique element in constructing the Great Pyramid of Giza remains a mystery today? The materials used for its core, the purpose of its hidden chambers, the exact method of transporting stones. The exact method of transporting stones. What strange law in ancient Sparta revealed the society's values regarding health and fitness? No one was allowed to be overweight. Only healthy children can be raised. All men had to compete in sports. Only healthy children can be raised. What unusual practice among the Aztecs reflects their beliefs in the spiritual world? Rituals involving animal sacrifices, building massive stone temples, or the creation of intricate calendars? Rituals involving animal sacrifices. What little-known fact about Viking ships showcases their advanced engineering skills? They could sail in shallow waters, they were made of solid oak, or they were primarily used for fishing. They could sail in shallow waters. What overlooked aspect of the French Revolution highlights the role of women in shaping its outcomes? their leadership in military campaigns, their influence in political salons, or their participation in the storming of Bastille. Their influence in political salons. What fascinating fact about the ancient Egyptian mummification process reveals their beliefs about the afterlife? They allowed bodies to decompose naturally, they used essential oils in the process, they buried items for daily use with the deceased. They buried items for daily use with the deceased. Which little-known architectural feature of medieval cathedrals served both aesthetic and functional purposes? Tall spires for decoration, mosaic windows for art, or gargoyles that acted as waterspouts? Gargoyles that acted as waterspouts. How did the invention of the compass impact global exploration during the Age of Discovery? It made navigation simpler and safer, it had little effect on travel, or it was used only for military purposes. It made navigation simpler and safer. What surprising connection exists between the ancient Greeks and the establishment of modern sports? They trained athletes for war, they created the Olympic Games, they organised community sports events. They created the Olympic Games. What unique tradition among the Maori people of New Zealand demonstrate their connection to their land? Storytelling through dance, tattooing as a rite of passage, or building elaborate wooden canoes? Tattooing as a rite of passage. In what way did the ancient Romans innovate their road systems, impacting transportation today? They created multi-lane highways, they utilised only natural paths, they built straight roads for efficiency. They built straight roads for efficiency. How did the role of women in ancient Rome challenge modern perceptions of gender during that time? They held positions of power in society, they were excluded from all public life, or Judas Maccabeus. They held positions of power in society. In what unconventional manner did the Vikings use their longship for travel during their expeditions? They sailed only at night, they carried animals for food, or they navigated using stars and landmarks. They navigated using stars and landmarks. Which lesser-known practice of the ancient Greeks involved theatrical performances that served as entertainment and political commentary? Comedies, satire plays, or tragedies? Satire plays. Which unusual artifact was discovered in the tomb of the ancient Chinese Emperor Wing Shihung, showcasing their burial practices? A map of the stars, a full-size terracotta army, or an advanced astronomical device? A full-sized terracotta army. What lesser-known fact about the Aztec civilization reveals their advanced understanding of architecture? They had no formal agricultural practices, they relied solely on hunting and gathering, they created floating gardens and called chimpanas. They created floating gardens called chinnapas. Which peculiar custom did the ancient Greeks practice to predict the future using animal entrails? Haruspicy, augury, or necromancy? Haruspicy. What strange tradition was held by the ancient Celts to ensure a good harvest involving ritual sacrifice? Burning a wicker man, offering bread to the gods, or dancing around a sacred tree? Burning a wicker man. Which aspect of Incan civilization demonstrated their remarkable engineering skills in agriculture? Floating fields on lakes, terraced farming techniques, or use of windmills for irrigation? Floating fields on lakes. How did the ancient Romans ensure their soldiers remained loyal, often involving an unexpected practice, providing them with land, promising them unique titles, allowing them to marry local women? Allowing them to marry local women. What peculiar characteristic of the ancient Persian postal system exemplified their advanced communication methods? Smoke signals, use of carrier pigeons, or relay stations with fresh horses? Relay stations with fresh horses. What unusual way did the ancient Egyptians celebrate the afterlife through their burial practices? Burying pets with their owners, constructing elaborate pyramids, or writing love letters to the deceased? Burying pets with their owners. Which unusual form of currency did the islanders of Yap use that often puzzled outsiders? Giant stone discs, shells and beads, or gold bars? Giant stone discs. What unique feature of the ancient Mesopotamian ziggurats served both as a religious and practical purpose? Open-air courtyards, spiritual spiral staircases for ascent, or extensive drainage systems? Spiral staircases for ascent. Which peculiar practice of the ancient Chinese included unique elements of philosophy and medicine? Acupuncture, Feng Shui, or Tai Chi? Acupuncture. What curious aspect of the Roman Senate involved the use of a peculiar accessory during discussions? Laurel wreaths, elaborate sandals, or togas with distinct colours? Laurel wreaths. What unexpected detail about the ancient Greek Olympic Games demonstrates their complex societal values? Only freeborn men could compete. Women were banned from all events. The games included musical contests. Only freeborn men could compete. Which interesting fact about the ancient Maya civilization reveals their sophisticated knowledge of astronomy? They had no interest in celestial events, they could predict solar eclipses, or they believed the sun revolved around the earth. They could predict solar eclipses. What unusual practice did the ancient Egyptians employ to prevent the decay of their mummies? Removing internal organs, covering bodies in salt, or wrapping in linen with honey? Removing internal organs. What lesser-known fact about the ancient Greeks' voting practices showcases their democratic values? They used stones to cast votes. They held elections every month. Only wealthy citizens could vote. They used stones to cast vote. Which peculiar aspect of ancient Sumerian religion involved unexpected elements of governance? Deities had no role in governance. Only women could be priests, or priests served as both religious and political leaders. Priests served as both religious and political leaders. What strange aspect of medieval England's legal system allowed for unique trial methods that would be surprising today? Trial by ordeal, trial by jury, or public execution as a punishment? Trial by ordeal. What strange cultural belief did the ancient Egyptians hold regarding the colour blue about their gods? It was considered a colour of mourning. It represented the sky and water. It was the favourite colour of the pharaohs. It represented the sky and water. Which unique aspect of the ancient Mesopotamian economy relied heavily on a surprising type of trade? Trade of ideas and knowledge, use of silver as currency, or bartering with livestock and grains? bartering with livestock and grains. What strange historical fact about the construction of the pyramids reveals the complexity of ancient Egyptian society? They used only simple tools for construction. They were completed in a few years. They were built by skilled labourers, not slaves. They were built by skilled labourers, not slaves. Which unexpected element of early American settler life involved an unusual belief about land ownership? They claimed land based on farming. They held land titles in perpetuity. They believed in communal land use. They believed in communal land use. How did the ancient Romans utilize gladiators in a manner that went beyond mere entertainment? They served as political symbols. They were trained as soldiers, or they were often used in religious ceremonies. They served as political symbols. How did the ancient Chinese view their dynastic circles in a way that reflects their unique cultural perspective? They believed in a predetermined fate. They viewed it as a spiritual journey, or they recognized patterns of rise and fall. They recognized patterns of rise and fall. What curious element of the ancient Roman diet involved surprising use of ingredients that is often forgotten? Use of garum, a fermented fish sauce, regular consumption of sweet fruits, or exclusive reliance on grains for nutrition. Use of garum, a fermented fish sauce. Which lesser-known aspect of life in ancient Athens illustrates their unexpected dedication to the arts? They avoided music and dance altogether. They held annual festivals celebrating theatre. Only wealthy citizens could attend performances. They held annual festivals celebrating theatre. What strange aspect of the Byzantine Empire cultural practices involved an unexpected approach to art and religion? They only commissioned portraits of rulers. They avoided religious themes in art, or they focused on iconography over realism. They focused on iconography over realism. What unexpected element of the Mayan calendar reflects their sophisticated understanding of time? They did not believe in measuring time at all. They followed the lunar cycle exclusively, or they had a 365-day year alongside a 260-day cycle. They had a 365-day year alongside a 260-day cycle. What curious aspect of the history and the tea of Britain highlights the unexpected origins of this beverage? It was banned by the monarchy for a time. It was only available to the wealthy. It was initially consumed for medicinal purposes. It was initially consumed for medicinal purposes. How did the ancient Greeks view the concept of beauty in a way that challenges modern perceptions? They solely focused on physical appearance. They associated beauty with moral virtue. They believed beauty was irrelevant to character. They associated beauty with moral virtue. Which strange cultural practice among indigenous people of the Americas involved an unexpected use of music? Music was considered a distraction, music was solely for entertainment, or music was used to heal physical ailments. Music was used to heal physical ailments. And your last one, what curious aspect of the history of chocolate reveals its surprising significance in ancient Mesoamerican cultures? It was consumed as a bitter drink, it was banned by some rulers, or it was solely a luxury item for the elite. It was consumed as a bitter drink. So how did you do today? Drop your score in the comments below, and of course like and subscribe so you get notified every time we post a new quiz. And please join us next time on Quiz Time.